clarifying the issue here so that we are more consistent in our thinking elsewhere. So that's in the question of this system of justice. How do we deal with injustice over here? Now what we're dealing with in the question of the election is you're dealing with two candidates that are supposed to help manage the country. All right. And there's a distinction in terms of that's a different category in terms of voting for someone to manage the country than is in a specific bill of justice or injustice that you're putting forth in law. So it's a different category altogether. And I personally think, and somebody can think that I'm wrong here and they can try to convince me otherwise, and I'd be happy to listen for sure. But I think what we're dealing with right now in this nation is we're dealing with a post-Christian community and worldview just barely hanging on. And I think we're at a stage where we have to think about America as a walking into a nation as a missionary that has a completely flawed system of justice, a completely flawed governmental system. If you walked into a nation as a missionary, you got off a boat and you start walking through the jungle into this place, and now you're there and you've got so much work to do, and they're holding an election next week. You can't, I believe, in terms of missionary work, you can't say, well, I'm sorry, this candidate over here does not fully hold to all of theonomic principles and all of the things he needs to be doing and all the justice he needs to be upholding. I think you have to see it as missionary work. We've got two candidates supposed to manage a government. You have to say which one right now, in the midst of this mission work I need to accomplish here, which one right now is the closest to what I need to be able to work with. Now, all that to say, I think if we were 1,000 years into the future and we had Christianized America and everybody's operating assumption is the lordship of Christ and God's law as the standard, I think you could be a little stricter in that context, because that's a whole different category where I have two candidates to choose from that are both professing believers, both hold to the law of God. I think you could look at, well, this one actually is being, more committed to the law of God in every category than this one. I'm voting for that one for sure, because this one's really inconsistent. I think after missionary work, you can think that way when you've had transformation occur. And by the way, it bothers me at times in terms of how we think as Christians about the president of this nation. We're not electing a king. The president of this nation is not supposed to be able to act like a king. And I think often that's what we think as Americans, that we want the guy in there who's going to act like a king and set forth statutes like a king. And I just think that we need to think differently about America and American politics and the American governmental system. We're not supposed to be electing a king. We're supposed to be electing a manager.